There's so much happening in the pelvis. So many layers, there's so many organs, there's so many muscles, there's a lot of layers of connective tissue, there are a lot of nerves. All of these things can be affected for better function or for not so good function. The good news is there's a lot we can do for ourselves to improve pelvic floor health. Health of the muscles of the pelvic floor, health of the organs in the pelvic floor, health in the connective tissue of the pelvic floor, and what we can do for scar tissue that has accumulated over time. Sometimes women receive radiation treatments for uterine cancer, and those radiation treatments can create scar tissue. After all, it's a kind of burning that's happening, and that the body will encapsulate. What does it encapsulate with? Scar tissue. And if the area that's being treated is in fact the cervix can get fixated. This is the vagina, this is the cervix, up here is the uterus. This uterus and the cervix are all one organ, and the tip of the cervix is at the back of the vagina. If there's been scar tissue, what happens is the cervix gets fixated to the back of the vagina. Normally with sexual arousal, women's uteruses, they lift and they pull, which moves the cervix deeper back into the vaginal canal, out of the way of incoming penetrating objects. And if the cervix can't move because it's literally fixated to the vaginal wall with scar, then there will be impact on the cervical tip, which is going to create cramping in the uterus and create pain during intercourse. An example I can cite is I worked with a woman who had had a C-section. She had given birth to twins and had gotten a C-section, and her twins were 2 or 3 years old when she came to see me. And she said ever since about 6 weeks postpartum, when I was cleared to have sex with my husband, sex has been painful. He's well endowed, and I'm getting cervical battering and it hurts, and I shouldn't have to deal with this because I got a C-section. Why is this painful? And the truth is, if this is the uterus and this is the cervix and here's the vagina, the incision, if this were the front body, is right here, almost at the level where the cervix comes into the vaginal canal. That scar can grow straight in to the uterus, because after all, it's being cut to take the baby out. The scar can grow down into the cervix, and growing down is where the fixation comes from. But the good news is this can be remediated. It can be remediated quite rapidly. It's just, a finger going around a few times around the width of the cervix, just getting that little adhesive lip, which you can hardly even feel. It's so delicate, but it's so strong. And it just takes moments, literally 2 or 3 seconds of contact to actually dissolve that scar tissue. When I treated this woman with this fixation, she said, "Oh my gosh, what an amazing difference. I have no pain. It's like I was back before the days I gave birth." So no more cervical impact with intercourse because her uterus was returned to its normal range of motion. We don't really think about organs as having a range of motion, yet all the organs do. Inside of the pelvis, the bladder has a range of motion. The uterus above the bladder has a range of positions. Our cervix is constantly changing positions depending on the time of the month, depending on how stressed we are, depending on how we're using our body or not using our body, etc. So these organs kind of move around in there unless they're fixated in place by adhesive scars, in which case they don't move, and that's going to affect their function. Because a happy organ is a mobile organ, we need to keep our pelvic organs all moving appropriately. So we're working with the scars in the pelvic cavity. The pelvic outlet can help free up the organs to do their happy dance, basically. I got into sexological bodywork as a way to give me scope of practice to pursue scar tissue, because I was told by one of my early bodywork teachers that this was an area in deep need of exploration.